compassion and understanding for your narcissist? Hi, I'm Michele Paradise, and thanks for joining me today. I know this is an upsetting topic because I've talked about it before on other social platforms, and I got a lot of pushback from it. But I think what happened with most of those people, they thought I was talking about forgiveness, and I'm actually not talking about forgiveness. I'm talking about having compassion and understanding for the narcissist so that you can set yourself free, not them. So they're very different things. I'm not asking you to forgive the narcissist. That's something that some people can do, but that takes a lot of healing. That takes a lot of perspective, and it is possible, but I will save that for another video. I really want to talk about having compassion and understanding for a narcissist because the way I look at it, my training, my understanding, and I've been trained by Dr. Gabor Maté, and as Dr. Gabor Maté believes, and I believe my thoughts align with this, is that people that have narcissistic personality style or narcissistic personality disorder, which is quite extreme, so a lot of people think that they've chosen that, and they haven't, because this is a direct result of their childhood, their lack of attunement to their parent figures. Even though it may look like the parents were there and gave them everything they needed, I'm talking about emotional attunement to the child. So as we've talked about before, the first 3 years of our lives are so super important to our personality adaptation and development because we are nonverbal, pre-verbal. We don't really understand and are, more importantly, not able to communicate what we think we understand to others. And that really impairs our ability to process and, as I say, understand what's going on with ourselves and, more importantly, what's going on with others. The first 7 years of our life is when we really develop our personality. And a lot of our personality is in response to things that our needs that aren't getting met. So we're not being seen, heard, acknowledged, accepted, loved in the way that we need to, not our sister or our brother or the kid next door, but the way we need to be seen, heard, and validated. So a lot of our personality adaptations, as you've heard me talk about before, are trauma responses. And this, in my opinion, certainly falls into that category. So I need to explain this a little bit more in order for you to understand my thoughts around you considering having some compassion and understanding for the narcissist. We've talked about before in other videos how there's these two extremes of how a narcissist becomes this type of person, this type of personality. It doesn't define them, but it actually has a lot of input on who they are, the decisions they make, and how they treat other people. Obviously, if you've been involved with a narcissist, this will be extremely clear to you. So they are responding to their environment, and if their needs aren't met, one of the ways they go is not being attuned to the parent figures at all. And the parent figures don't see them, don't hear them, don't acknowledge them in the way they need to, so they may become some archetypes like a people pleaser, a fixer, hypervigilant, and so on and so forth. The other extreme, and there's lots in between, but the other extreme is they're the golden child. So they did nothing wrong. Everything they did was right, even when it was not right. And frequently the siblings take the hit, the fall for that child. So both of these children have very unrealistic views of the way the world works, and that can get very carried away. They can get very carried away with their personality adaptations and wanting the world to revolve around them being in the middle, the world revolves around them, instead of them being able to attune and connect to people outside of themselves. So their main goal is to have their needs met, and those needs change as they grow up. They might be very simple things when they're children, to be chosen for a team or to be invited to a birthday party or whatever. They get to be much more high value when they grow up and they get into relationships and careers and things like that. So the reason I explain this, because I think it's really helpful to see that it wasn't a choice that they made. They didn't, at the age of 3 or 5 or 7 or whatever, say, I'm going to be narcissistic. The whole world is going to revolve around me. It is a response to their environment. It is not genetic. it is epigenetic. And that is super important to remember in this. Now, why should we have compassion and understanding for a narcissist when they've broken our hearts, ripped our hearts out, taken all our money, whatever your experience has been, betrayed you, been in other relationships while they're in a relationship with you? There's a whole gamut of reasons that we don't want to really have compassion for them and understanding for them. But what that does is it keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck in this victim mode that everything they did was either my fault, I'm not good enough, they're better than me. Look, everybody likes them. They're so charismatic and funny. And we could go on and on and on. So many of us, myself included, as I have been in a narcissistic relationship and marriage and raised by a narcissistic father, I frequently felt I wasn't good enough. I couldn't do well, even though I tried very hard. It was never enough to be seen and heard and accepted in the way that I needed to. So I spent years feeling like this victim, feeling like the scapegoat child, feeling like nothing I did was right. And that kept me very stuck in a bad place, a place where there was no growth whatsoever, no growth of myself, no healing. And then in my narcissistic marriage, I got very stuck. I got stuck with having children. I'm not blaming the children or anything like that. I'm just saying that I chose to be a mother. I chose to be married. I'm not blaming any of this on anybody else because these were my choices. And it's really important to have accountability here because trust me, there were red flags at the beginning. There always are red flags at the beginning, but you chose to ignore them. And that's a fact. Because when you reflect back, as I've done, they were there. And mine was, he was, unbeknownst to me, but I later found out, with somebody else whilst he was pursuing me. And what happens to so many of us is when we realize that, if you have integrity and you have a conscience, you will possibly feel that that's not right. But then they start telling you how awful this other relationship is and how you're the one. And of course, because we have this need to be chosen, this need to be valued, seen and heard and loved, because we've also have personality adaptations. There's levels of need and codependency. We hear that and we buy into that. And we think, yes, I am going to be the one. I'm going to be different. I'm going to be the one that he's happy with. I'm going to fix him or her so that they realize they cannot live without me and I'm going to be that person. And that's where we really ignore the red flags. And trust me, they don't stop there. They don't. They keep showing up. But we are now on this path. We are in this lane where we are going to be the one for them. We're going to make everything right. And we carry on. And we begin to make a lot of excuses for the things that they do until we reach this critical mass, which happened in my situation, where there was so much evidence of betrayal and him having other children that I had to begin to really pay attention and choose myself. So within that, I developed, not in the relationship, I want to make very clear, but after the relationship, after the divorce, when I went on my healing journey, I began to develop some understanding of where he came from, what caused, what was the environment that led to him becoming this very toxic, narcissistic person. Now, you know, for most of us, that's where we're out. We leave. We don't want to, and I'm not, when I say leave, I don't mean physically leave, because I hope you have definitely physically left by now, but I'm talking about emotionally leaving. Because remember, we can leave a person, but we can still take them with us, because they're still living in our minds. They're still controlling us. We're still answering to them and wondering if we're good enough. So the compassion and understanding, or the understanding and compassion, really help us, enable us to leave, to completely leave, to set ourselves free. And that's why it is so vitally important. So I began to understand where this man came from. And it's not blame, because this was legacy trauma, generational trauma. His mother had all the hallmarks of a toxic narcissist as well. And I'm not blaming her, because if you look into everybody's story, and when I say story, not the narrative that they give you, but if you look at the facts of, the trauma that they've experienced in their life and the hard decisions they had to make, for some of these people, it was their only choice. Some people were, in war-torn countries and lost parents in wars and concentration camps and things like that. So it's all there. That doesn't mean that they have the right to get away with it the way they treat us, but it helps us to understand that it's not personal. And this for me was eye-opening. I always thought it was personal. I thought I was the victim in the situation, but it's not personal, because trust me, when you're gone, they will repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And so many of us sit there and think they're going to be happy in the next relationship. They're going to get married. They're going to have a couple kids. They're going to have a wonderful life. And here I am, heartbroken. No. Look, I've been around a lot more corners than many of you watching this video now, and that's not how it goes down. I'm sorry to say that they're never happy. For them, I'm sorry to say that. And that doesn't bring me much peace either, because that's not what this is all about. This isn't about revenge. Revenging a narcissist, if you want to really throw your time and money and sanity away, then go for it. But it's not going to get you anywhere, because they don't care. Remember, it's not personal. It's not about you. It's not about you being able to hurt them. They love bomb you. They devalue you, and they discard you, right? You haven't had a lot of control over that. Now, people could look at my life and say, well, you left. But I left after years of devaluation and discard. So I was actually discarded first. And that is really helpful to remember when you realize that it's not personal. Yes, they chose you, but remember, you're just on their wheel of supply. You're just one of the spokes in the wheel. They're in the center, and everything revolves around them to get their needs met. There's very little to no emotional connection they have from the inside out, because it's been shut down. It's never been able to develop. So it can't possibly be there. So if you hear nothing else today, please hear that it's not personal to you. It just feels that way because they mirrored your life back to you. They mirrored your needs back to you. It was as if they were inside your mind and they knew exactly what you wanted in the beginning during the love bombing phase. So the compassion and understanding, and I should put it the other way around. It is the understanding of them that leads to the compassion. And I really want to make this very clear. When you understand and have compassion for them, please do it at a distance. This does not mean that you're still in the relationship. Please, no. Get out. Run. Do not walk away from a narcissistic relationship, especially when you realize how toxic it is for you, how it is destroying you. Okay? You have all of these thoughts and understandings from a distance, because remember, this is going to set you free, not them. They are shackled. They are shackled by their inability to feel anything. And it's really sad. It's really sad because I see this very wounded child inside of each one of them that wasn't able to grow. Their needs weren't met in a way for them to grow into healthy, functioning, loving human beings. So the narcissist doesn't choose to be a narcissist. It's just the outcome of their environment and the lack of attunement to their family and parent figures, and you have no control over that. You cannot fix it. You cannot change it. You just need to get away from it. But many of us have children with narcissists. So you really have to find a way to navigate that. And now I could have shown up in every situation being very angry, feeling very victimized. But I promise you, when I started to understand that this wasn't their choice, this is something that was met upon them by other wounded people. And remember, hurt people hurt people. That's when I began to realize that it wasn't about me, that I'm not the victim here. The only thing I really, really had to become aware of is, why was I allowing myself to continue to be chosen by narcissistic men in my situation? And why was I, being so magnetized to them? What was it about them? And when I started doing that work, that's when I was able to have understanding and compassion for them. So I hope you found this valuable. Bring on the comments. I'm sure they're going to come, because some of you are really in the thick of the anger, and I get that, and I'm not taking that away from you in any way, shape, or form. I just want you to be able to see that there is light. There's definitely light in this. There, through those cracks, you will see light, and that light will take you forward to where you need to go, because you want to be set free from this forever. And you want to be able to show up in a situation with the narcissist. Not that you choose to, but sometimes we have no choice in it because we have children with them. And you want to be in self, completely in self, feeling calm, confident, having balance, having compassion. Not to let them back in, but just to set yourself free. If you'd like to know more about the way I work, there's links in my bio, and we're going to add some links below. And please, please, please hit the subscribe button, because it makes my heart sing when I see your comments and I see how many of you are watching the videos. And thank you all, for all of you that are watching the videos and commenting. I really appreciate it. Keep well, stay safe, stay aware of what's going on in your narcissistic relationship.